listeners, and welcome to the Leadership Connection, a Mobius podcast. I am Tara Holwegner, and I am your guest host for today. And I am very excited to be leading the podcast for Mobius. We're calling this the Tara Takeover of the Leadership Connection. I am an intellectual property and product manager at Lifecycle Engineering. And I am honored today to be here on this podcast where we have conversations with leaders from industrial asset management, reliability, and maintenance disciplines. So we bring leaders in from all over the world to share their experience and advice about leadership in industry today. And I'm very excited today to be here with Limuel Sagadraca. He is a vice president of the Reliability Consulting Group at Lifecycle Engineering. Limuel has an MBA, and he has over 25 years of industrial experience. So the Reliability Consulting Group at Lifecycle Engineering offers consulting services, education, and tools to help companies drive performance in the areas of asset management, organizational effectiveness, equipment reliability, change management, and Industry 4.0 strategies. So Limuel, welcome to the podcast, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Tara. I look forward to the discussion.
Yes, so let's just jump right in. I'd like for you to start off for our listeners talking about a project or the moment that you were first recognized and that you recognized yourself as being a leader.
Sure. It was early in my career at Johnson & Johnson. Every year, key projects from all life sciences and consumer products divisions are submitted to J&J headquarters for review and consideration. As you can imagine, there were over 100 affiliate companies. Hundreds of key projects are done yearly. Of all the projects, my team received the Global Innovation Award.
Wow.
Our team successfully implemented a MES solution at VistaCon, which is the vision care facility in Jacksonville, Florida. The impact was huge in operations and quality. The project enabled parametric release of products where only quality checks were done by exception. And that's very hard to do in any manufacturing facility. This had a dramatic increase in released product to the marketplace. Also, along with the application, we installed vision systems to automate visual quality checks of each contact lens during production, which was really a game changer, as you probably can tell. Bad products were caught at every stage of manufacturing. Therefore, product rarely, if not totally eliminated at the end of production. This had a big impact in COGS, which every manufacturer wants to do, is to decrease the cost of goods sold.
Exactly.
And all this implementation of this application and technology really drove the cost down because you're no longer making bad product and pushing it through the full manufacturing system. You're removing it as they go bad, and only the good products are done all the way through manufacturing.
Wow. So this was a huge innovation for Johnson & Johnson, a big contributor to the business. And that's a huge conglomeration to get that sort of visibility. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
For that story. What would you say? Let's take it out of the specific industrial experience and talk more about leadership and the philosophy of leadership. So what would you say is the primary motivating factor behind you as a leader, behind your style of leadership?
Well, the primary motivating factor is seeing the success of and growth of my people, right? It's not just my immediate organization, but in all parts of the company. For me, job satisfaction or motivation for success, it's not related to how much a person makes monetarily, but rather having a sense of belonging and value to the company. So it's up to me as a leader to make that happen. When people are involved, having their voices heard, valuing their input. It creates a certain feel of ownership and satisfaction of what they do, because they have a feeling that they do have an impact on the organization and the company's success. If you think about reliability programs, people may not see the immediate impact of change in the process and culture to the bottom line, but these programs have significant mid and long-term gains in operational efficiencies. This is where you have to be steadfast in constant support and communication to the group and stakeholders, and really empowering the team will provide them growth and feeling of success.
So I really appreciate that. A leader of the people, you're showing your teams how they make a genuine difference, and empowering them, to be a part of the organization's success, and that they're actively a part of the organization's success. So let's talk a little bit now about maybe some of your background. So in your career, which has spanned large organizations, medium-sized organizations, all different cultures, was there someone that you have looked to, or someone that you'd like to call out as a mentor or a role model that influenced your career? And if you could think of that person or that mentor, and then share with our listeners 2 or 3 things that individual taught you, that you learned from them.
So that's somewhat of a loaded question for me.
It is a loaded question.
Yeah, because mentorship to me, it's not one person. Throughout your whole career, there are several mentors, at least from my case, during my career, that I credit the way I work and think. For me, a mentor does not have to be your senior, which most people think they have to be. It could be a peer or a subordinate. Levels of the organization does not determine mentorship, at least from my perspective. My mentors, each of them had these in common, though, which I hold close and applied in my career. First, the most important key to your own success is the success of your people around you. Project success is fleeting, but rather success is lasting, right? The people's success is lasting. Second is to be a servant leader. So break down barriers when needed. Talk to everyone to get input and consensus. You as a leader must open the doors of opportunity and break down the barriers that limits creativity are the key things. When you focus on these, your people will not be afraid to be innovative and seek success in everything they do. And then third, but not least, is don't be scared to make hard decisions, as long as you have done the due diligence to make an informed decision. Okay? If you think about all 3, they are strongly tied together. The saying that my father ingrained in my head is, I have never met a successful man or woman that never took a chance. Right? To be successful, you have to take chances, and your people need to create an environment where everyone feel comfortable of taking chances. If you think about it, asset management, reliability, maintenance disciplines are affected by these. If you think about predictive analytics, this could be a scary initiative, as everyone knows. Everyone's trying to get into predictive. These changes the mindset of using technology to drive actions and decisions and maintenance programs. You have, again, to empower the team, break down the barriers, and drive to action to make this happen. So all these things are all tied together when it comes to empowerment of your own people.
And we've talked about empowerment a few times already now, and I can definitely tell that is your style of leadership, being a servant leader. It's about the success of your people. It's about breaking down barriers so that they can help innovate. You said take chances, but so people can create what those chances and opportunities are going to be. It's not just a top-down approach. It's all inclusive, and to create an environment where people feel safe to be able to come up with new ideas, and have them be appreciated and supported.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's really insightful. Um, I'd like to ask a fun question now, because we got a little deep there. We got a little into our feels. Let's ask a fun question now. If you could have coffee, tea, a beverage of your choice, with anyone in the world, alive or dead, fictional or real, who would it be and why?
Well, let's see. This may seem odd, but I'd like to have tea with my father again. Um,
Oh, now you
yeah,
got me back in my feels again. This is okay. Please tell
yeah,
me.
yeah. So the reason why I said my father is I had a deep relationship with him. We talked about everything from work to family, things that has gone right, what things has gone wrong, and sometimes just for help and advice, to provide me courage and direction. Right, all the things that you would like to talk to someone that you're comfortable with. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I also ask why, when I see things around me going wrong, and why are things the way they are, how I can help. I used him as a mentor, a friend, a father, and everything else. The key part here is he is God. He's a God-fearing man. So he had a strong belief that God opens the door to everyone's success, but it is all up to that individual to walk through that door. Right. So that was fully ingrained in me. I believe in that too. So I did not take the chance to get to know him deeper. So would like to understand more of what drove him. It was always he was trying to. I was trying to ask him for advice rather than getting to know how he thinks. Right, and that's why I
Right.
sit down with him. If I had the chance to do it again. I also want to know what does he go through when making decisions, the tough
Mm-hmm.
decisions. How can and it goes back is how do you empower your people, right? In
Mm-hmm.
order to make changes. He did have a great sense of these aspects where his organizations excel, and I want to do the same thing for people and my organizations. So yes, it would be my father that I want to have tea, sit down and just have tea again. So
Sure. No, that's excellent, and can definitely tell that, you know, that 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 has influenced, your approach to leadership, as well. I mean, we talked about uh, empowerment just even in that
mhm,
discussion, about you've got to be the one to walk through the door, take the chance.
yeah.
No, that's lovely. Thank you for sharing. So, um, if you could go back, if you could go back in time, maybe before that J&J award that you got, and give a piece of advice, or let's maybe take your father's voice, and if you could give a piece of advice to your yourself earlier in your career, let's say your 20-year-old self, what would it be?
Well, I said this to my own children when they were growing up.
There you
Right.
go, even better.
So yeah. So when they started their career, and basically the advice is take every opportunity that is offered, whether you think you're ready or not. Right. Everyone is too critical of oneself, that you're not ready because you may not have the experience to be successful. Keep in mind, the reason you have the opportunity is that the person who is offering you the opportunity sees great attributes in you that he or she thinks will lend itself to provide immediate and future success that you're taking on. No one has all the experiences entering a role, no matter what level, right? So
Right.
it is knowing how to quickly learn and apply all the things you know that will give you the edge. Given the going back to reliability programs as an example, people may have heard of it or know a little of it, that it is an initiative that needs to be put in place to help drive operational value. That's all they know, and
Right.
maybe you're entering into that realm not knowing so much. But if you have the passion, go for it. Whether you have all the knowledge or not, learn and apply your learnings. Before you know it, you have a whole lot of gains with incremental steps of reliability, or no matter what you do.
Right. Each step is a step in the right direction. And if you have that courage, to take those opportunities, even if you feel like you're not ready, believe in what other people are seeing in you, and then take those steps, because you'll get there. You'll get what you need along the way. That's really inspiring. Thank you, man. I feel inspired from that. Thank you. I think you just inspired me. So speaking of inspiration and accomplishments, what do you consider to be your most significant accomplishment to date? And we'll just say, what do you consider it today? Could be something different tomorrow. But what do you think right now would be an accomplishment that you would highlight thus far in your career?
As you probably can tell, I'm a people person, right?
So, no, not coming through at all.
My most significant professional accomplishment is, I would say, seeing the continued success of the people that I have worked with in every part and stage of my career, and have a continued personal relationship with them. That is very important to me. It is great to know that I had a positive influence and impact in their career, and passing on their learnings to their own teams. We often have those discussions, even now. People that I worked with 20 years ago still reach out to me and talk about the things that we used to do, and how his learnings during our time together is affecting his own organization or her organization. They feel a sense of satisfaction when they see the client increase their reliability, performance, and striving to do more. This is from an external perspective, right?
Right.
There are so many case studies within LCE from our teams that you can get to learn and get a sense of possibility of what success really means. So again, it goes back to the people, driving success to them, which basically drives my own success.
You see success when you can see it in others, right? Absolutely. And when you see, and that is something that I know that life cycle engineering is prescribes to, or ascribes to. So, and what a compliment, that you're able to keep in touch with or people with, decades later, and still see that those kernels of success that you helped to plant many years ago. That's great. So let's talk about some difficulties. We touched on it briefly about how, one of the jobs of a leader is to make the tough decisions, right? That's there. If you're thinking about responsibility matrix, the A, the accountable, the buck ends here, the decision maker. Could you tell me, or for me and our listening audience, as a leader, one of the most a difficult obstacle, like, could you share a story with us about a difficult situation, a difficult decision that you had to make, and how did you go about it? Talk about that decision-making process that we were discussing earlier, when we were having tea with your father. Just tell us a little bit about how you came to be able to make the decision and know that was what you had to do.
Yeah, let me talk about that holistically, because you see this in all projects and all initiatives. It's the fear of change. is the obstacle.
Ah,
Okay, that comes in many ways. It could be a change in culture. It could be a
mm-hmm.
change in current ways of working. It could be a change in processes. People are used to doing things the way they used to do it, right?
Sure.
And then the other things is implementation of technology. People fear technology, that technology will take over their job, and so many other fears that comes into play on that. I'm not able to use it. I don't know how to use technology, and so on. So it's really
Yes, it's
that fear.
uncomfortable. It's the
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. So all of these require strong management of change, which
Mm-hmm.
means including stakeholders in key decisions, communicating to affected areas, following a process and methodology. Because if you don't, it feels to the audience like you're shooting from the hip, and
You don't
that
have
never is
control or
comfortable.
plan. Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly. So you really have to follow a process and a methodology. And most of all, getting the support of all parts of the organization is key.
Mm-hmm.
As
Mm-hmm.
everyone knows, failure of initiatives or programs is not necessarily process and technology. It is oftentimes the acceptance and use of from your people, and it all starts with acceptance of that change. Getting them up to speed and comfortable, and remove the
Mm-hmm.
fear of making a mistake will make it happen, and they will be the champions of those initiatives eventually. So really removing that fear of change, getting people comfortable is the obstacle that you need to overcome.
Agreed. That is one of the core functions, of a leader in industry today
Mhm.
is to shepherd, and help teams navigate through change in order to be successful. And the research proves it. So, Limuel, I know at Life Cycle Engineering, they're familiar with the ProSci methodology, and ProSci is an organization that's a research body. They've published, for decades on managing change. And the research shows that projects where change has been managed using a process managed effectively is multiple times more likely to be successful. What does success mean? It means that people are adopting the new way, that they're doing the new thing the new way, and that they are gaining proficiency at
Absolutely.
that new way, and that new way it doesn't become the new way, it becomes the way that we do things, and
Absolutely.
that's the sign of success.
Mhm.
And another piece of the research that's been consistent over decades as well is that leaders, executive sponsorship is that essential special sauce. It's that essential piece of making the decisions of being the strong leader to help the people through the uncomfortable phases of change and into the new way. So we know that managing change and the ability to include stakeholders and be a good communicator and be a sponsor for change is a skill and experience that's instrumental for a leader to be successful. Are there any other skills or experience from your perspective that you would share with our listeners today that you consider instrumental to the success of a leader?
Absolutely. The other part is being a strong collaborator.
Ah, mhm.
Right? I found getting everyone's input makes my thinking stronger, and getting other perspectives and input. Because by getting those input, I may have missed some data point that I wasn't looking at that's
Mhm.
detrimental to the project, or could change the project holistically. So
Mhm.
that collaboration is key. Oftentimes, whatever I'm embarking on, or I'm starting an initiative, um, I pull in the stakeholders, some of
Mhm.
the change agents, and for me, a change agent is someone that is not afraid in providing input that can change an organization or a process. Not necessarily someone that just says this is how we do things, and this
Right.
is how we should maintain. Always look at people that wants to constantly optimize whatever it is we're looking into, right?
Sure.
Um,
Challenge that status quo to
exactly.
be to be better, right?
Absolutely. Because if you think about it, if you're satisfied with the status quo, you never know whether it's the right way of doing things or it needs to be changed, right?
Right.
The decision may be as you go through the discussions that you stay with status quo, then you move on to some other initiatives. So it could be that type of thinking where you set your priorities accordingly. For example, going back to the J&J example that we talked about in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
parametric release can be reviewed by exception only. That is the
Mm-hmm.
ultimate goal, but there are regulatory requirements that must be met, and full parametric release would have violated ESIG requirements for full quality release. So without input by the quality team, we could have gone through an electronic release and violated some of the regulations that a life science company needs to abide by before they release.
Ah,
So you have to get all these different perspectives from all the affected areas because they have insights that you may not have, and the way to do that is to collaborate.
who collaborate. I think that that is a major message from this whole episode that I hope our listeners take away from it. It's about the success of the people and empowering the people and collaborating with all the stakeholders. I'm sure there's a really good Peter Drucker quote that we could
That's right.
that shares all of that too. So the next question that I wanted to ask you pulls a little bit more on these uh traits or how should I describe it? Characteristics, of great leaders.
Mhm.
If you were going to pull, I mean, maybe one of them is collaboration, and the ability to be open and to have that open door. But what other 2 or 3 things, would you say makes a great leader?
Yeah, let me talk about 3 attributes.
Great.
It's listener and observer. What I mean by that is get the pulse of what is happening, organize and prioritize. But it's better to do less to make a greater impact, rather doing all and have a small impacts everywhere. It's the first thing. The second thing is trust. Keep me informed. I don't like surprises, so keep me informed. But I trust my teams to make decisions. Right.
Okay.
If an informed decision is made, don't be afraid if the outcome results to no value. We can always use the learnings to adjust and go in another direction.
Mhm.
It is worse to not make. It is worse to making no decisions at all because we didn't learn anything, we didn't try anything, and we remain status quo.
Status quo.
Yeah. And then the last one, and we talked about this a little bit earlier, is I'm a constant optimizer. Continuous improvement is the way of life. And that is in culture, in people, process, and technology.
Mhm.
One must really determine what can be further optimized, leveraging the new culture, the new people, the new process, and the new technology. So everything ties together.
Yes, it does. It definitely does. And in, a lot in the industry today, we do talk about the pace of change, right? We talk about how things are changing so fast, about change, saturation. But I think in what you're saying, the leader's responsibility is to, or one of the leader's responsibilities is to pivot, help people get through that fear of change, help people to understand why, why things are changing, how they will be impacted in a better way individually, by sticking through it, by making those decisions and following through with the changes and the improvements as they come. I was trying to find a quote right about change and about continuous improvement. Just one came to mind. If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got.
That's right.
So you have to be, or it sounds like some of your advice is, if you empower people, listen to them, trust them, give them the space to be creative, to be innovative, and then support that. Even if it's not always successful right off the bat, you're still moving in that. You're still moving in that right direction. Another one quote that I'll share with you and see what you think about this. It's actually by former President John Quincy Adams. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. What do you think about that quote?
That quote really hits me to the heart, right?
Yeah.
Everything we talked about really is in that quote.
Yes.
Where you empower your people, do everything you can do, in order for them to be comfortable in making decisions, and empowering them and trusting them to make those decisions. So,
and another thing I like about the quote in the context of our conversation today, Limuel, is that quote doesn't say at what level you are a leader, right? So if you inspire other people, you don't necessarily have to be in the C-suite. You can be a leader, like you were talking about the change agents. Those are leaders in their own right. Inspiring people to think more, dream more, be more, learn more, right?
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And it goes back to one of our conversations about mentors, where I said it doesn't have to be your superior. It could be your peer, it could be your subordinate, it could be the lower parts of the organization, it could be your mentor.
Absolutely. Well, and now you're doing my job, because I was supposed to be the one to call back to you saying that. Because I did want to go back full circle to that comment that you made about mentors don't have to be above you in the organization. That comes full circle. That's great. So we've talked a lot about culture change and about leading through that. I want to leave our listeners with something tangible, maybe a course, or a book or a video, a leader, out there, a TED Talk. Are there any recommendations, any book or something that you feel changed the way that you thought, about being leadership, or influenced your style as a leader? What would you recommend to our listeners?
There are 3 books that I basically read throughout my career, and sometimes I go back to it just as a reminder if I'm struggling with some decisions. The first one, and I think everyone knows this book, it's by Stephen Covey in 1989, and it's been redone to make it more from a modern industry perspective. But it's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Classic.
Right, that's a classic, and The other one is Leadership 101 by John Maxwell. What that one is, it focuses on the fundamentals of developing a trusted partnership with your peers, management, and workers. So this is how that collaboration works, right? Bring in all parts of the organization. And then last but not least is Leaders Eat Fast.
Leaders eat fast.
I'm sorry, eat last.
Eat last.
Exactly.
Oh,
That's by Simon Sinek.
Yes, I love Simon Sinek.
Right, and he talks about the value of listening to your people to make your company better. So building trust in one company. So all the things that we discussed are really within these three books that I mentioned, and that's why I keep going back to it as I see fit, or when I'm struggling with something.
Right. So you can just flip to the page, or look on your screen and find that motivation or that advice,
Right.
that you can use. Okay, so you heard it here, folks. Covey's 7 Habits, always a keeper. Leadership 101, and then Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. He's got a lot of great videos too.
Exactly.
Mr. Sinek, just very inspiring. Well, I think we have talked about some such great things: servant leadership, success of your people, empowering your people, having the courage of the leader to do that, but having the ability to inspire courage in others. Right? I love that phrase, that advice that you shared. Take every opportunity you're offered, even if you think you're not ready. Take the plunge and be ready to learn quick. Don't be afraid of change, especially since there are so many great change models out there. I mean, there's a lot. Google it. You can find Lewin, Cotter, Prosci. I mean, there are tools and support out there to help leaders get better at managing change and helping their people through change. I just want to thank you so much, Limuel, for joining us today and for sharing your thoughts on leadership, especially leadership in an industrial environment, sharing your experiences. I'm gonna throw one out there for you. Just if you were going to leave our listeners with one thought today, what would it be?
Go for it. Don't be afraid.
Go for it.
And don't be afraid.
That is so inspiring. Thank you so much. And I feel you inspired me. I'm ready to go for it. And trust myself and my skills, and know that there's room for more. So if listeners want to reach you, Limuel, we are going to, you have LinkedIn, so you're on LinkedIn. And the website, where you can be found, and actually it's a very nice photo of you. So I encourage our listeners to go check it out on lce.com. It's an easy website address. But they can reach out to you on LinkedIn, if people want to learn more about Limuel or about life cycle engineering. Is that how we recommend they reach out to you?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Well, and thank you for joining me on the Leadership Connection. I think our listeners are going to get a lot out of this chat, and I hope we get to do another one sometime soon.
No, thank you for the invite. It was my pleasure.
All right. So for you listeners out there of the Leadership Connection, join me next time for our next episode of the Leadership Connection. We will be speaking with some other industrial leaders, sharing experiences, giving some kernels of truth, giving some knowledge, something that you can walk away with for your own personal leadership journey. And I hope we've done that for you today. And so with that, this is Tara Holwegner signing off until next time. Bye-bye.